Hey guys, my name is Wildcard and welcome back to my channel. Let's catch up with some rugby news for June 8th of 2021. So the Springboks has finally announced their 46-man squad to go against the British and Irish Lions in about just less than 2 months away. And there has been a little bit of shocking picks and surprising picks in the team. So first of all, this team, all the players that started and benched for the Rugby World Cup final games against England were selected except for two. The Beast, he was retired, and also Francois Lowe also retired. And Francois Lowe is on the bench, and Scott Briss wasn't in the starting team or the bench. Warwick Gallant wasn't in the starting or bench for the World Cup finals. So these two were just in the squad. But the two players that were in the game, the Beast and Francois Lowe, both retired. So that's the main thing is probably the Beast. He's the starting loose head for the Springboks, who did a really, really big number on the English scrum. And so that's probably the biggest change in the team, but all the rest of the team has been ready and good to go for the Lions series and are selected. So one of the biggest surprise selection is Morne Steyn. Yes, you heard it right, Morne Steyn. The man who hasn't played for the Springboks since 2016, and he didn't even play in the 2015 Rugby World Cup. I don't think he's played. He might have been there for an injury or something, but he wasn't Anyway, but this man, he was the hero in the last Lions series, where he kicked a penalty in the last second of the game to win the series for the Springboks in only the second test. So he's back. He's 36 years old, and he's managed to dial back the clock, looking after himself and get himself back in the Springboks team. And it's looking like he's potentially start for the Springboks as well. First of all, he's playing currently for the Bulls in the Rainbow Cup, and he played for the Bulls again as well last year in the Currie Cup, and he has done pretty well. The Bulls won the Currie Cup last year, and he's very informed. His kicking has been spot on, and he's managed to edge himself ahead of CURWIN BOSCH to make this spot. And to be honest, CURWIN his kicking, I've seen him, has been a bit off. So in terms of just being able to, and in a big test match, being able to nail those long range, nail a 3-pointer from anywhere inside your opposition half is very critical to winning tight test matches. CURWIN BOSCH might have more speed, but Morne Steyn, the steady, hard foundation of the Springboks, he is back and he's looking likely to start as well. So there are some potential issues with the Springboks in terms of their injuries. So Andre Pollard has been injured for 8 months, and he's only been playing a little bit in Montpellier recently, so he might be a little bit out of shape in terms of not obviously these players can get into physical shape, but match shape, not being haven't played enough rugby recently, so he might not get a start, whereas Steyn has been playing pretty consistently in the last couple of years in the domestic club competition. And also Elton Jantjies hasn't played too much either. He was coming off as an injury replacement in French club. So despite the fact that both players are really talented and could potentially start, Morne Steyn in recent times has been really informed and really solid for the Bulls. So and the fact that he's been playing in South Africa as well, and he's been basically playing with and against the Springboks teammates, he is going to be very, very likely to start, in my opinion, for the Springboks. So wow, what a trip down nostalgia, right? For all your Springboks fans. This is back in 2009 again. We're getting Morne Steyn to potentially start in the Lions series. Man, that's puts a smile on my face. And another big issue that just occurred as well for the Springboks is Duane Vermeulen. He's an absolute monster for the Springboks. The number 8, the big man. He was, I think, man of the match for the World Cup finals. And he's potentially ruled out with an injury, an ankle injury. So he rolled his ankle on Friday, so only a few days ago. But the first test is in mid-July. So he has about a bit over a month to recover from an ankle injury. Not sure how severe the ankle injury is. If he just roll the ankle, he probably can play in about a month because ankle injuries. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not too sure. So yeah, that's another thing that could potentially sweat for the Springboks. And believe it or not, there was another injury occurred to 2 of the Springbok stars over the weekend. The Damien Delende and RG Snyman, suffered a burn. They burned themselves in some fire pit accident in Ireland. I don't know, they're out partying or something. I don't know. So they burned themselves, and they both are, not going to be able to play for Munster. But again, the test matches are a bit over a month away. And, the bad news just seems to pile up for the Springboks. Depends on the degree of the burn, I guess. They probably should be okay for the Lions series. But, I mean, the last thing you need is for this guy to look more intimidating. Have some burn marks on his face. But yeah, like the things are just piling up against the Springboks in like last few hours. So as a result of that, the man who missed out, Marcell Coetzee, could potentially get called up to fill Vermeulen's place or as injury sub, and to potentially fill as an injury sub for Vermeulen. But yeah, that is quite painful to see for the Springboks. As soon as there's a lot of things happened really recently, and not too sure. I'm pretty sure Coetzee has been injured as well. He's still working his way back, and I'm pretty sure Peter-Sip du Toit was injured a while ago, and he's back a little bit now, but I think he's back at 100%. But yeah, there's been quite a bit of a injury cloud surrounding the Springboks. Now, let's look at some, I just want to show you a picture here. Is it here? That's Razzie. Just want to show you a picture. Yeah, look, this is Erasmus. He's been eating quite well during the lockdown. He's had himself some good feed, hasn't he? And look, that's what he looked like during the World Cup, and he's really part on the good times during the lockdown. Good on him. So the next thing I think we want to talk about is, again, another injury, and kind of like, for my personal enjoyment, made me happy. The Kyle Sinckler, who in my opinion is the best prop, or one of the best prop, top 3 at least, tight head in the world, and he did not make the Lions team. And I was really, really disappointed, because I personally, first of all, I genuinely think he's good. He's really, really good. And secondly, in the Rugby World Cup final 2019 against South Africa, Sinkler got injured. He got concussed right at the beginning of the game, like less than a minute or something. And he never got to scrum against the South Africans. And his replacement came on the field and got absolutely outclassed. And that was largely the key reason England lost that World Cup final. Because their scrum, their line-out set pieces was just absolutely in shambles. And the South Africans the beast did a number on the English scrum. and it was just atrocious for the English team. And everybody wondered, including me, what would have been like if Sinkler didn't get injured. And if Sinkler was able to play and steady up the scrums and steady the more in the lineouts, that Rugby World Cup final could have been a very, very, very bit different story. As the South Africans really, like, the England really didn't have anything going for them because the scrums, the set pieces were just atrocious for the English team. So I've been waiting for Sinkler to play against the Springboks for 2 years now almost, and the fact that he didn't get selected, I was like really, really, really not happy, just from a personal perspective. And you know, Andrew Porter, the Irish tight head, got injured. Not good for anyone to get injured, but MORNÉ Sinkler here has given a second lifeline to be called up to the Lions team. And I am very, very excited to see him put down a scrum against the Springboks and redeem himself, and for England, the Rugby World Cup finals. So yeah, that's something that I was really excited to see. And Kyle Sinckler, he's absolute beast of a man. He's not just a good scrummager, he's good at running. He has really good hands, quick hands, and yeah, he's all around the park. Very, very, very good. So I'm happy with this. Not happy that Andrew Porter got injured, but I'm happy that Sinkler got picked. So yeah, that's another change in the British and Lions team. That's quite important. And let's have a look at some news from Australia. So first of all, Michael Hooper is back, and this is very close to home for me. The Wallabies and the Waratahs. He's been out. He could have played last week, this weekend just passed, but he's apparently not playing until the Test match. I really would like for him to see him play for the Waratahs. The Waratahs have really been on a big streak of losing streaks. I think 12 losses in a row now. And as the captain of Australia and captain of the Waratahs, he should have stepped up. He needs to step up. And as a professional rugby player, the fans pay money to see you. You need to step up, mate. Like, I don't care if they wanted to save you from injury. I don't care if you have a long trip from Japan or whatever. You need to step up. You need to play. It's not like this. I don't care what the excuse is. They didn't say what the reason is. They kind of just mentioned that he's gonna be just be ready for the Friends Test match. That is just not on. Like, you are the captain. You're not better than anyone else. You don't get to only play Test matches. You don't just come back home and play Test matches and leave the fans and your own team to their own demise. You need to play for the Super Rugby. You're the captain. You need to play more than anybody else. The fact that you're the captain. You don't just sit on a high horse and step in for the big Test matches. That is, I really, 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 really like not happy about this. Like, it's, just think about it. If this was Richie McCaw, do you think Richie McCaw would do this? Richie McCaw would be out on the field the first day he's back from whatever injury he's got. He's not going to sit around and be like, yeah, I'm going to wait and play for the All Blacks because, I'm Richie McCaw. I get to play the big games. That's more important to me. Richie McCaw will be out playing for the Canterbury's, whatever, right away. Get his hands dirty, work his way back out to his spot in the All Blacks. This is just awful, like, culture as well in the Australian rugby. Like, Michael Hooper, you're nobody. Your team was eliminated in the quarterfinals in the Rugby World Cup. Get off your high horses. You're nothing in the rugby world nowadays. Australia's nothing. You're about to become a tier 2 nation. In fact, you probably is a tier 2 nation. You're a joke. And you think you still have the right to come in and say, oh, yeah, I'm just going to play. I'm too important to play for the Waratahs. I'm just going to sit out and play for France only because I don't want to get injured or get my hands dirty. Just Australian rugby for you. Anyway, in other news, Dan Keller, the Brumbies forwards coach, is called up to be the Waratahs scrum forwards coach. I'm pretty happy with this because the the Brumbies forwards has been pretty consistent in throughout the season, and they have the most, probably the most best lineouts and set pieces in the game. They are, with the exception to the Reds, scrummaging against the Reds, the Brumbies overall set pieces has been pretty good. So that's just a little bit of extra news from Australia. Now let's have a look at the Super Rugby results. Super Rugby Trans-Tasman is now currently, so the game started on Friday with Highlanders hosting the Waratahs. The Tars actually played pretty well this game. They not like for the full game, but in the first half, the Tars were hanging right in there for the first half. I think the Waratahs were just a few, 10 points, 9 points in the final, 10 points in the first half, like hanging in there, neck and neck with the Highlanders. And once again, second half, the team weren't able to, the team basically cracked. Highlanders really able to pull away and belts the Waratahs to the ground. And basically, the Waratahs were not able to score a single point in the second half, despite having 23 points in the first. So that was a pretty, good improvement for the Waratahs. But overall, it was, still just lacked, lacked a bit of grit and determination to grind out a tough game in the second half. They kind of just said, hey, we did well in the first half. Let's just kind of let it go. But if you have a look, overall, the stats are pretty similar. The run meters, 448 to the Highlanders and 410. 19 defenders beaten 23. So the Waratahs actually has more defenders beaten. 9 and 10 clean breaks. So overall, these turnover conceded 11 and 12 is actually pretty close overall from these stats. In fact, Highland has more missed tackles at 23 and 19 to the Waratahs, but the Highlanders were really, really able to capitalize on all the opportunities, and the Waratahs were kind of weren't on it in the second half. That's probably the best way to put it. And the second game of the week, that was the second game of the week was a big one. The Brumbies played the Hurricanes at home, and this was a very, very, very good game. Both teams played very tough, and it was almost like a test match. It was quite close for most of the game, for the entire game. The Brumbies got really, really lucky towards the end of the game to not lose. The Hurricanes squandered. I think Geordie Barrett missed 3 conversions, and the Hurricanes opted to not kick a very kickable conversion towards the end of the game as well. They probably made a wrong decision. So Hurricanes missed a bunch of conversions and opted to not kick, which has led to a 2-point defeat to the Brumbies. So the run meters are 414 to the Brumbies, 326 to the Hurricanes. The Brumbies had a bit more, played a bit better in the first half, I guess. Pretty close overall. The halftime score, I think the Hurricanes were ahead, just 10 points to 7. I think that halftime score. 19 turnovers conceded for the Brumbies, 9 for the Hurricanes. Pretty similar tackle numbers, 97 to Brumbies, 106 for the Hurricanes. Both teams missed a lot of tackles. Brumbies 29, Hurricanes 30. 5 turnovers to Brumbies and 8 for the Brumbies. I think the telling sign is converge the penalty kicks. For the Hurricanes, 1 out of 4. Geordie Barrett had an awful night. He missed 3, and including 2 that was in the dying 2 minutes of the game, where he was very kickable. Back-to-back misses for Geordie Barrett within 2 minutes, last 2 minutes of the game. So if you're a Hurricanes fan, that's very disappointing. Geordie the Freak Barrett is human, after all. And then we have did we miss the couple? Oh, we did miss the couple. I'm sorry. The game, yes. Actually, why did I start on the Highlander game? Anyway, because we were talking about the Waratahs, I guess. Anyway, the Crusaders game played the Western Force on Friday night, and this was probably the best game of the weekend. Probably not the best, but this was actually really, really, really close. The Western Force stayed in there all the way till the last minute. And the Crusaders were able to get off a pretty quick start in the first half, and then in the second half, it was all Western Force. The Western Force were pounding the Crusaders line for about 30 minutes straight and not able to score. The Crusaders defense was absolutely huge this game. Despite the fact that Crusaders had a few of their core All Blacks players not playing, including Rich Mwanga, Sam Reese, and I think Sam Wylock. But yeah, that was just a heroic defensive effort for the Crusaders. And the Western Force, maybe their execution could have been a little bit more better. But yeah, it was pretty close. It took them all the way to 79th minute to actually crack the try. They needed 2 tries in second half, and it took them all the way till the end of the game to crack that 1 try and not able to get the second one in. But yeah, this was a really, 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 really good match to watch. Run meters 329 to the Crusaders, 270 for the Western Force. There was 115 passes to 193 to the Western Force. So Western Force had the ball a lot more than the Crusaders, looks like. 12 turnovers for the Crusaders. Like, the defensive effort is pretty high, to 7 for the Western Force. 159 tackles to 112 for the Western Force. So a lot more tackles made for the Crusaders for defending. But yeah, that was a monster effort for the Crusaders. Another thing that kind of let Crusaders down is the kicking. So Rich Mwanga wasn't there, so the replacement number 10 was lacking a little bit of experience. 2 out of 5. And yeah, that was good effort. So the Western Force continues to impress and continues to improve, which is really, really good to see. And going into the last week against the Blues, they could be, still hoping for their first win. So the second game of the week on Friday night was the Reds against the Blues, and this was, the Blues really did well against the Reds. This was a pretty close game for the Reds, but the Blues really played well in many of the set pieces and everything. The Reds had a bit of injury going into this game. O'Connor wasn't playing. Bryce Hegarty got injured as well, back-to-back injuries, so they had to call up. Henry, not Henry, what's his name? Henry has to be kicking, but they had to call up, what is his name? Have a look. Mac Greeley. He's from Downlands, from Toowoomba. And, they have to put in Hamish Stewart at 10. To be fair, both players played really well, but yeah, the Blues just a little bit more clinical all around the park over the Reds. There was 546 run meters to 451. The Reds actually did more run meters than the Blues. 146 carries to 105. Again, the execution seems to hurt the Reds despite having, more territory. 27 defenders beating 27, pretty clean. 16 clean breaks to 6 for the Reds. So the Reds actually had more opportunity to score, but not able to capitalize. 196 passes, 142 to the Reds, and pretty even everything else. The Blues has to make a lot more tackles, 170 to the 128, 27 missed tackles both sides, 8 turnovers for the Reds and 7 turnovers for the Blues. So overall, the stats, the Reds actually seem to be more dominant, but the Blues are just a little bit more clinical around the park. Yeah, so yeah, that's the Reds game against the Blues. And the final game of the weekend, once again, it was the Chiefs against the Rebels. So the Rebels actually played really, really well this game. This was the best performance by the Rebels. And the Rebels were able to hang in there all the way till the end. But you can see that all the way till 55 minutes, you can see the Rebels were just about a try and a bit behind, until the Chiefs kind of pulled away a bit towards the end. But yeah, the Chiefs came out with a flurry of tries before the Rebels answered, and then the Rebels stabilized and played pretty well. Some good hard running by Naisarani, who outstanding performance, probably his best performance in the season. It really pulled the Rebels back into the game. And then again, the Rebels weren't able to finish very strong. Despite the fact that they were only 2 tries behind, and when Callaway scored this try at 55 minutes, the Rebels definitely had a chance to win. And Matt Tamora needed to get this conversion, and he missed. He didn't miss this conversion. But yeah, Matt Tamora really needed to get all this conversion down. But yeah, they seem to be pretty close. There was still, I think this was what, 5 tries to 4. So they were just like right there. And then eventually the Chiefs just able to get ahead. And yeah, the Rebels, just weren't able to finish once again. And the Chiefs, despite the fact that they were winning, they really wanted a bonus try. So they almost went over in the last second in the game. Aaron Smith, I think he dropped the ball just before the try line to not get the bonus point win. But the Rebels, did well in the middle section of the game, but could not finish. So round meters, 627 for the Chiefs, 548 for the Rebels. Very big meters for both teams. Carries pretty similar, 126, 127 respectively. Defenders beaten, the Chiefs 28, the Brumbies 20. 15 clean breaks for the Chiefs, 8 for the Brumbies. 189 passes for the Chiefs, 147 for the Brumbies. 18 offloads for the Chiefs, 9 for the Brumbies. So that's a game. That's one area where the Chiefs did really, really well, being able to support their own players. Turnovers conceded, 15 for the Chiefs and 19 for the Brumbies. So, not Brumbies, Rebels. Rebels, not Brumbies, Rebels. Tackles are pretty even, 108 for the Chiefs, 102 for the Rebels. 28 missed tackles from the Rebels, 20 for the Highlanders. But yeah, 33 kicks in play and 22 for the Rebels. But yeah, once again, the Rebels seems to struggle with consistency and with finishing the game. When things gets tough, the Rebels just don't have it. And I do think that is a culture issue in the team. But anyway, that is the Super Rugby results. I do believe that the Blues is currently on top of the leaderboard. And the... let's have a look. Super Rugby Trans-Tasman. I think Blues on top and Highlanders is second. And so the leaderboard, Blues is on top at the moment. So if the Blues wins the game against the Western Force on the weekend with a bonus point, they'll guarantee themselves into hosting the grand final. And the second team could potentially be Highlanders or Crusaders. Highlanders, I think they're playing against Brumbies, so that's a tough game for them. So they needed to win a bonus point against Brumbies. And Crusaders is playing the Rebels. So it seems that Crusaders could potentially still make into the finals if they put a big number on the Rebels. So it comes down to point differentiation. So if Crusaders can beat the Rebels can catch up, this basically it needs to beat the Rebels by 12. And then if Highlanders, overall, the Crusaders needs to catch up 12 points. So if Highlanders gets 10 points, win over the Brumbies, then Crusaders needs to score 10 points and an additional 12 to be able to make themselves into the finals. So Highlanders has a little bit of advantage, but Highlanders is playing a much tougher competition in the Brumbies. And the Crusaders are playing the Rebels. Could potentially be a blowout there. We'll have to wait and see. And Blues is pretty comfortable looking at potentially hosting and unless they lose at home, then that they should be able to make into the finals for the Super Rugby Trans-Tasman. And that's the news for the week. Let me know what you think. I have a video for the Springbok selection. Feel free to have a look at that. And thanks guys for watching. I'll see you guys later this week. Cheers.